bitches. Welcome to episode 95 of C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. I am River.
And I'm Wren.
And today we thought we would do another episode with interview with a witch. We did one before August 21st, 2022, which I think was episode 61, I think.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't remember.
But there are so many questions. I mean, I'm sure all of our listeners, when you walk down, if you're out of the broom closet, so to speak, people are like, they have all these questions for you. What does it mean? Are you evil? All of these things.
Yeah.
And so we thought we would do another one. I think last time we only answered like 19, 20 questions. So we thought we would do that again. And some of those questions we thought we would ask again to see if we've changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
and I think we have. I think
so. It's been almost a year.
It's only been, oh my gosh. My brain was like, it's only been a couple months. But yeah, you're right.
It's been almost a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's almost been a year. So let's see how we have grown.
But first, we're working on our cocktail book. So one of the ones that y'all, we have decided that it's easier to work on the ones that we both like together than it is to try to figure out the ones that we don't like. So this one,
it's a whole system. We're trying to figure out a system.
we are working on it. We would love to get it published soon. We are working on it. But from episode 25, we had the witch's blood, which was Aperol and champagne and marinated black cherries. So for me, the measurement thing is very hard. I put a little bit of Aperol into my champagne glass and then top it with the champagne. And I put those lovely decadent black cherries in mine. Well, I think Wren doesn't like the black cherries.
No, I don't. But I think the motto of our book is going to be measure with your heart, because
what is the Wren speak? Do what you want.
Do what you want, because do what you want Wren, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like all of the measurements that we come up with are going to be subjective,
I
because
agree.
Not everyone's the same. I mean, and that's River and I are far from the same.
She likes things sweeter
that are completely different.
Yes.
So it's the book is going to be very the measurements that we come up with, we are going to agree with, but at the end of the day, if you want more cherries, add more cherries. And if you want more vodka, add more vodka. If you want something more sweet, sweeter in there, add more sweet. It's
simple syrup,
subjective.
whatever. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
So
today we're drinking witch's blood, and I absolutely love it. You know me, I love the bubbly. I love all the bubbles. Yeah. So
and see, even with this one, I like it sweeter. So next time I might opt in for my Moscato. Instead of a champagne. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to me, the Aperol makes it like this fresh flavor. I don't know how to describe it.
It's like spring. It's like
it is
spring. It's like if spring had a taste, that's what it tastes like.
I think so.
Anyway.
Okay. So basically what we do is we come up with questions that we've either been asked ourselves or have heard other witches complain. I got asked
just kind of stereotypes that are kind of people just can't get rid of.
I mean, for me, one of the most irksome things is where people say, "Oh, well, you can't be a witch if you do blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Bitch, hold my broom," and
hold my wand, hold my
broom,
no, for real, because there was again, I'm still on the show, that I watched the ghost hunting type of thing. A lot of the stories that are this place is haunted and this is what occurred in this home. Let's say it's a basement of a house that they're investigating, and they're there's a pentagram on the floor, drawn in the floor, and it's old. So obviously, and then they're this is known for a place of where witches would cast spells and sacrifice. And I'm
they worship Satan and all of that.
Yeah, they worship
ridiculous
Satan
stuff
and the devil and blah blah blah. And I'm over here I really like this show, but you guys are making it very hard because you're still spreading that stereotype.
Yes, it's terrible. Ugh. Well, ask me some questions. Let's
okay.
Because I know you came up with a bunch.
I came up with a bunch. And a lot of them are from like one of the websites. I don't have the website. I'm gonna have to find it to be able to, post where I got all these from. But one of them, and I came up with some of them myself. So
right.
So some of them was like the top 5 are frequent questions asked by people who have no idea what witches do. It's their knowledge is based off of stereotypes, and that's where these questions come from. So it's like basically the first 5 or 10. So the first one, and I know we've asked this one in the previous episode, do you worship the devil?
No.
And the answer is no. And it's sort
I
of
don't
like,
worship anything, honestly.
Some witches don't even believe that that's a part of witchcraft or that's even real, that's, to each their own with what they believe. But
I don't believe in the devil. Do you?
No, I believe that there's evil definitely
out there. I do too.
But there's evil in people and evil in things,
I do believe there are entities out there
that are
that might be evil.
But I don't know if there's a devil per se. Like we could just spiral on any of these. Another question, if we're done with that question.
I think so.
Is do you put spells on people? And I say define spells, not bad, if you want to try to help somebody and you have their consent on casting that spell, then you can definitely cast spells on people. You can. I personally don't, because I don't want anything to go wrong and I don't want it to be my fault,
I remember when I was a little kid and I didn't know I was a witch. I mean, looking back now, I'm like, obviously I was. I had an altar. I mean, I didn't even call it an altar. I didn't know what it was. But I had not a friend, but there was a person in our neighborhood who was dying. And I don't know that I've ever told you this story. I tried really hard to cast a spell to make them better. But I didn't call it a spell. It wasn't praying, because I didn't ever believe in God. It was, I tried to send energy to help heal them, not
like
knowing,
put it out into the universe.
Yeah, and this was long before I identified as a witch. I know now that obviously I've always been a witch. I just didn't know that that's what it was.
Yeah.
And of course that person died anyway. You can't perform miracles, there is.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I've ever consciously, quote, cast a spell, even though it wasn't a spell, because I didn't have, but my intent was certainly there. I wanted them to not die as a little 6-year-old kid.
But in terms of casting spells on people for evil, we don't do that. But I mean, there are witches who could, We, in
our After Dark series, we've talked about hexes and the things that you can do if you're so inclined.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing. Not all witches are bad. Just like there are bad people, just as there are bad witches and good witches and good people.
Even the ones that cast hexes aren't necessarily bad. I mean, we don't know their reasoning. Is it vengeance? Were they raped? Was it, I still, well, I can't say that because I've never been raped. I was about to say I would never cast a hex on someone, but
I think it just depends on the type of person, it depends on the type of person that you are. And I hit my microphone, and whether or not that is your part of your craft. It's not, again, it's per person, not
and I think that applies to everything,
witches.
not even just witchcraft, but like good people can do bad things for specific reasons, and sometimes they go down a path and make a choice that isn't the best choice, but it fit what they needed to do at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily make them evil. And then some people do want to hurt other people. There are people that are bad out there.
Yeah. I mean, think murderers. Like, they don't have to be a witch to be considered a bad guy,
Right,
like, so there's bad people, and,
yeah.
And some of those bad people may practice witchcraft.
I mean, and I don't think there's anyone that's perfectly good either.
No, there's that middle gray area.
Everybody is gray in some point or another.
Yeah. 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 I like to think of it in ways of like, you're a bad guy in at least one person's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody has a different interpretation of who you are on this planet.
Yeah.
And every single one is different.
That
so
bad guy's
you could
daughter
be good. Yeah.
might
Or you
think
could
he
be bad.
is, the best thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's all a matter of, it's very subjective. Yeah. I mean, I'm not condoning, I'm not judging. There are just, but personally, that's the only time that I ever quote cast a spell on someone. And I wasn't old enough to understand. I just wanted that person not to die.
Yeah.
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 But in today's, if at this age, if that person gave their consent, because that was another thing my 6-year-old self didn't even know to ask, I don't mind trying to cast a spell to make them more comfortable or, to help them in other ways, but none of us can save a dying person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question is, do you sacrifice animals?
Well,
no.
Wren, do you sacrifice animals?
No, I do not. I love animals and I would never hurt another living thing.
Yeah, same.
But now I know there are some people who would sacrifice animals in their craft, but that,
and there is,
again, doesn't make them
power
evil or anything.
There is power in death. There is power in blood. There is power in pain. So you can harness those things, but personally, no. My answer is no.
Yeah, personally, no. Where do witches worship?
Oh, that's a good question.
Anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
Anywhere. Your house, outside, in a forest, by water, in a restaurant.
If you have an altar
anywhere.
room, I mean, yeah, just like a Christian might say a prayer in a restaurant, we might
before worship, they eat, no matter where they are, they'll always send a prayer, so I mean, anywhere. It just depends on the witch. And I feel like a lot of the answers are going to be like, it depends on the witch. I mean, it does. It really does.
Well, I think people want to know about us because they listen to us. They want to know us, I think. So,
yeah, but
I think their questions
where do I worship? In my house, in my kitchen, mostly because I'm a kitchen witch. So I cook a lot, and a lot of my foods harness that love and that intent and that power.
Where is your altar?
I don't have one. My whole house is my altar.
Your whole house is your altar. Okay.
My whole house, everything that I have in my house is set and placed intentionally. And if it doesn't feel right, like I have it's a method to madness, to the madness. So if I feel like I need to feng shui my house, that's not
y'all, she does this all the time.
I do it all the time because it resets my energies, I guess you could say. So I remove all of everything that I consider important to me around my house. I pile it all up on my table, and then I figure out where to relocate it, and that changes the energies of my home. And it cleanses
sometimes, like depending on the season, it might not be a time for some of the things that are important to you. You might have new things.
Yeah. So I set them differently. And so my whole house is my altar.
For me, I do a lot of magic in my bedroom as far as I do my morning tarot draw there every morning. My altar is in my bedroom right next to my bed. So there is a lot that goes on in there. I use my deck a lot because that's where my bees are. I do my meditations out there. I do all kinds of nature things out there. I garden. So my yard. Where else do I worship? I love to go walking. I'm one of those weird people, and maybe our listeners are too, but I'll be walking and I'll feel an affinity with a tree, and I'll just have to stop and put my hand on the tree and feel its energy. And, it's so at a park, I might practice.
You're one of those loser tree huggers, aren't you?
I am a tree hugger. I love the
kidding.
trees.
I'm just kidding.
I try to tell them they're beautiful so they understand too. So I actually don't have any set place. And then down here where we podcast, this is actually the room where I do a lot of my crafting. So when I'm making my jar spells, I do those down here because this is where all my crystal pieces are and all of my items for casting actual spells is down here. Yeah. And so I'll do actual magic spells down here. So yeah, all over my house, but I wouldn't say my whole house is my altar because I've got kids and dogs and cats, and not all of that is conducive to practicing magic. So
yeah. What does being a witch offer you personally?
I feel powerful. I feel connected to nature. It helps me look at myself and my surroundings in a way that helps me move forward through circumstances, that helps me help other people. I don't do it, and when I say, oh, it makes me feel powerful, it's not like, the movies where I want the power. It makes me feel as a woman stronger and powerful and more in touch with myself and confident, maybe is the word. What about you?
Yeah. It makes me feel free and one with surroundings that I probably wouldn't have, what's the word? Been in touch with, like the earth and water and feeling everything around me. I think free is the best word. It offers me that freedom and that space to allow myself to just, be myself. And
I have a question, and you can ask me the same. What does your husband, is he a witch too, or what does he think about your witchcraft? How does that work in your family?
I wouldn't say he believes in any of it, but he's not a person to sit there and be like, that's not real. Why do you do? He respects what I believe, and I respect what he believes. And it doesn't really affect our household in any way. It doesn't, he just lets me be me.
Is he supportive?
Oh yeah. It's funny because I was casting a jar spell on myself, and I went and ransacked our kitchen for all of our spices, and we have like fresh spices and herbs. And I pulled out all of them, and I was trying to figure out which ones I needed. And I was like reading them. I was like, I probably look like a maniac in the kitchen. And then I pile it all up on our table, and he's still asleep, kind of like he hears me in the kitchen. So he comes out, he's shuffling because he just woken up. And imagine I'm like sitting at the table with all of these herbs and a candle going and all of this. And I'm like over here, like I have my mortar and pestle. I'm grinding them all together and everything. And he just walks out, he stops, and he's like, okay. And he turns back around and he goes back into the bedroom and lays back in bed. So it's just kind of like, okay, I'm going to let her do her thing and then everything. And then he doesn't even ask me about it. He just lets it be. I finished up, I cleaned up everything, I put everything away. And throughout the day, I was like, oh yeah, you never asked me what I was doing this morning. And he was like, oh yeah, you just do you, it's whatever you do. So he didn't.
It's just Wren being Wren, man. Whatever. Yeah, I'm going back to bed.
To know. So yeah, so that's pretty much how it is.
I don't think he believes in it. He's open to the concept. He is not. I think he does believe in God, but he is open to my exploration of my inner self. And so he'll even see things like a rock and he'll go, oh, do you like this? This is a rock, and I'm like, actually I do, but isn't that adorable?
I like that a lot.
He does try to help me in my spiritual path. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
So off of that, like, with that, what does your day-to-day entail?
Oh, unfortunately, my day-to-day deals with my real job. I would love it to be all podcast and magic every single day.
Yeah, magic and happiness and just walking barefoot in the forest. And,
gosh. Well, I walk barefoot everywhere anyway. I do not like shoes, so.
No, I'm right there with you. We're just normal people. At the end of the day, we're normal people. We have jobs. Well, not me yet, but
I have children. Well, I didn't ask you, how is the job search? Any news on anything?
I'm just waiting to hear.
Okay.
But yeah, we have jobs, we have pets, you have children, we're
spouses,
married. Yeah. So we wake up, I have my cup of coffee, I go to the gym, I come back home, I make breakfast, play with my animals, sit and watch TikTok, watch some TV, play video games.
I mean, and we work on our podcast.
We work on our podcast.
We do ads for our Facebook. We do TikToks. Yeah. We have meetings about what our next podcast episode is going to be. And, when can we get together in person again to do a podcast? Because I think we are much better in person than we are separated. But
other than all of that, it's just we're normal people. And we go out to eat, we love to go out to eat and enjoy ourselves, and we make good home cooked meals, and we just enjoy our time with our families and all of that.
Now, I do journal, as I have said in many, many, many episodes. I am a very strong supporter of journaling. And so if I am journaling and I find something recurring, or I try to dream journal as well. Try to dream journal as well.
Journal.
And if I find things that there's a problem, I might do a jar spill. I might take that time, and I seclude myself, and the kids understand, and the dad, the husband understands. And, I'm like, I need to go and work on myself, and they get it. But unfortunately, I wish that could be all day, every day. But life intercedes.
It would be nice. It would be very nice to be able to just, but we live in a modern day world where we just, can't quite do that.
And I love my kids. I want to go and, watch them swim and do all the stuff that they do. I want to be involved in that. I want to make my husband dinner. I want to do all those things. So, we fit the witchery in as we can,
as much as we can. Yeah.
And it helps to have a friend like you who, I feel like I'm not alone out there, that, I'm not this crazed weirdo that.
Well, you are.
Well, I mean, okay, granted, you're right, but you support me too. And I can reach out to you and go, I'm feeling this way. And you're like, well, why don't you do this and this? Or, you always have witchy suggestions that make me feel better.
Most of my answers are, well, why don't you just go bake something?
You are the kitchen witch. And I do.
Cook something. It'll make you feel better.
Too. Mine are, let's go make a cocktail. That'll make me feel better.
Yeah. No, mine's I'm going to go make some brownies. Yesterday, I was feeling very, what's the word? Non-motivated to do anything. And so I was like, what can I do? And I ended up making a traditional meal from my husband's side, and it was super good. Super
That's
good.
Cool.
And it just made me feel better, and it made me feel motivated. And I had made food, and and we ate it, and it was very good. Yeah. Provided us energy. So
okay. Very cool. But we're normal people, just like everybody else.
We're just normal people. Yep. Our day-to-day doesn't include going to the depths of hell to
and sacrificing animals
and sacrifice a goat or whatever. No.
Yep. No.
So what is your favorite thing about your spirituality?
Ooh, I don't know that I have a favorite thing, other than I must say that since I've been on this path, I mean, I've been on it all my life. I just didn't know it. Once I recognized it, I feel stronger and more confident and comfortable in myself. I'm not second guessing. Am I good enough? I have to conform to what everybody else thinks. What's wrong with me that I'm thinking differently? Witchcraft has helped me understand that that's not a bad thing. To be different. I've been different all my life. I am me. I'm not a normal person. I have very strange things that I am, I think I'm funny, but whatever. So I feel like that is my favorite thing, is the sense of self that I've gotten.
Yeah. I would just say I don't know, my favorite thing is just being able to be myself in that,
and
in
being
that way.
okay in that.
and being comfortable and confident.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, and I've even in my own physical body, like I haven't been as comfortable as I wanted because, I've put on weight and all of that since I've, been in school, stress eating, blah, blah, blah. And so I feel like it's also just a way to compare it, you feel good when you look good, like when you feel good on the inside and outside when you, take care of yourself and all of that. And it's the same way with the aspect of spirituality. My favorite part is being myself, and I'm taking care of myself in that way. So I feel confident, I feel free, and I feel
loving
better.
yourself for it. Yeah. Same. Yeah.
Based on that, how do you handle skeptics or criticism about your beliefs? Like, how do you handle that? Like when we get negative comments on our page, like our Facebook page, or when we get negative comments in general or on our YouTube page.
I try to be understanding because everybody is different and everybody has their own reasons for why they're thinking the way they're thinking. I do try to take an opportunity to teach. I've got that teaching spirit in me.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at it on an aspect of people who believe in God and preach on corners of the streets, that is, they're taking that opportunity to educate in their minds too.
Right. That's true.
So, I mean, I just let it be.
I don't seek out those, I'm not going to go preach on the corner about being a witch and how wonderful it is.
Yeah.
But if someone approaches me and says, you're evil, you're a bad person, then, I mean, now granted, there are some people that are just Karens and you look at them and you just walk away. There's nothing you can say to them. But some people,
I look at it in that way too, because it's just not worth a breath of my day. It's not worth a second of my day to acknowledge those types of things, because even no matter what you say, it's not going to change their mind.
But some people,
they grew up the way that they did. They're not going to change their mind.
I think it depends on how they approach you. Are they approaching you with true curiosity, or are they approaching you with judgment? And the ones that come
most of the time, it's judgment.
A lot of times it is, but there are people who are just simply really curious. What does that mean? Are you okay with going to hell? And then I say, I don't.
There's also Google.
True. That's true. They don't have to come in my face and ask me.
It's just the ignorance, because everyone has the access on their phone.
Sometimes ignorance is just lack of education, and
that's very true. And that's where they can go and educate themselves. But instead of doing that, they sit there and they go to our YouTube pages and they go to our Facebook page and they belittle and they spurt their their opinion on us, when that's easy true. To just go onto Google.
If it's on social media, there's no point really in arguing. But if it's a person who comes up to you in person, then it might be a learning opportunity or a teaching opportunity.
I don't know. It's like, I'm not here to teach them. There are plenty of resources if they are very curious, if they are that curious. It is not my job to waste a breath on teaching them.
It's like there was, I have got a friend who lives in a really rural town, and there was a transgender teacher, and there are opportunities, even though the way that this transgender person was approached was horrible, as often is. They were able to use it. They didn't respond with hatred. They didn't respond. They used as an opportunity to try to teach.
I agree with responding with, love and energy, positive vibes and energy, but it's not my place, and it's not my job to educate any of these people who aren't willing to educate themselves.
I feel like it is my job. I mean, that's not really the right way to say it, but I feel like if I don't step up and try to help people understand humanity could be doomed. And so I can do my little part and try to explain. And you're right. There are a lot of people who don't give a shit, but I might actually make a difference in someone's life that might change something for someone else later on down the road. And so I will always take that opportunity. And it might come back in my face.
I don't see it as a place for where I can come from. Like I just don't, that's not my job. I'm not comfortable, trying to change somebody's mind. Like that's
maybe it's that main character syndrome you were talking about a couple episodes ago.
I think so, because
where I feel like, I can make a difference. So
you can do it. I mean, I'm here and I have a podcast and I talk about this stuff, but I'm not trying to assert my views on anybody. If anybody's here that's listening is wonderful. That's absolutely great. But there's no way that in hell that I'm going to try to convince somebody, even though I call myself a witch, I'm good and blah, you're stupid for not thinking that, or blah, blah, blah.
Do it that way. But I feel like if they approach you with curiosity, take the time to see you for you. And I mean,
but I just don't think
so I have that stupid syndrome of the main character. I had never heard of that until you told me that a couple weeks ago.
I just, it's not
now every place. Time I say something,
if they want to be ignorant, and if they want to say
but they
something,
don't want to be ignorant.
Some of them
they don't know any better.
Yeah, and that's not my place to educate them, because they have.
It is if we want the world to be a better place.
It's funny because we're in a world right now where you can literally learn anything at your fingertips if you want.
That's true.
You can learn anything and you can educate yourself.
But they go to the wrong places to look.
That's not my fault. That's not my problem.
We need to offer them, because they don't know any better. We need to, okay, so you're right. The main character syndrome's coming out in me. I really didn't know that was a thing.
It's a very big thing.
But I still want to help people. Okay. Next question.
How do you see the future of witchcraft evolving from the modern era?
I feel like it is becoming more open, but then again, I'm afraid, because I thought, women's rights were advancing. I thought homosexual rights were advancing, gay rights. And we've kind of taken a step backwards, which is now, the abortion thing, not to talk about politics, but I had thought that we were progressing and that the future of witchcraft would become an accepted thing. There are witches who are religious. It is a religion for them. I just thought as time would go on, we would become more accepting of each other, but I'm discouraged in recent years. What about you?
I think you have a lot more hope for humankind than I do. You like to look at people and
give them the benefit
big
of
picture,
the doubt.
as a good. But I've never had that, so I see it as maybe staying the same, unless if we get different people in leadership roles and more active, open mind people.
Do you think we'll ever have to go back into the broom closet, so to speak? Do you think we'll ever be in a place where it will be too dangerous for us to be out and having a podcast like this?
Could be.
That's very scary.
Be. Yeah. I mean, anything can change in a moment, So I don't want to be like, yeah, our future is secured. And just because we're in 2023 and we're progressing into a more modern and open-minded generation and area, I'm not going to get comfortable, because you can be blindsided by anything.
That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Another question. Have you ever had any experiences where your magic seemed to manifest tangible results?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You too? Was that your yes as well?
Yeah. And I want to say, in my experience, I'm a big person on manifestation and putting in positive vibes out into the world, and allowing good to come into me, and manifesting, and always being grateful when my manifestations become true, and always saying thank you to the universe for giving. And it's funny because a lot of people, not a lot, but like people will complain about their situation on this planet. And I am one too. I'm not perfect.
I mean, everybody complains.
Yeah, but you have to take a second and look around, and you have to think, is any of the stuff that I have, anything around me, is it anything that I manifested before? And the answer is 100% of the time, basically, is yes. You know, you always manifest something. So when, you know, our apartment that we live in, when we had the opportunity to live here, it was kind of hard. And I manifested getting this apartment. And it was wishy-washy, you know, like there was like it was almost like, no, we are not going to, you know, like the search circumstance that I was in, it didn't look good, you know, but I manifested that. And I manifested the school I got into, and I manifested my internship, and I manifested everything that I have around me. And yeah, a lot of people, and even myself, sometimes seem ungrateful, you know? And but then sometimes you just have to sit down and look at, like, if you have a roof over your head, if you have food on your table, if you have all of that, then you have something to be grateful for. And in my experiences, everything that's around me has been a part of my manifestation. I will continue to manifest.
I think so, you know, too.
Just because I start to manifest more, you know, I want, instead of a 600 square foot apartment, I want a home. I want a better job. That doesn't mean I'm ungrateful for what I have now.
Right.
I'm thankful for everything I have right now, but it's time for something new. You know, you say thank you to the universe.
Do you keep a gratitude journal?
No.
Really? You seem like the type that would. That wouldn't have surprised me if you said yes.
Nah, I've tried keeping a journal. I just can't keep up with it.
I have that trouble too. Right now I'm starting to have stomach issues. Remember how you went through your celiac disease?
Yeah.
I'm beginning to wonder if I've got something. So I can't even keep up with my food journal.
This has nothing to do with witchcraft.
Okay.
Why does everyone call it celiacs with an S on the end?
Oh, is it celiac?
Yes. No, it's interchangeable. It's the same. But every single person in, like, my life, except for my husband, because my husband and I discovered celiac disease at the same time, you know, and it's always with a C at the end, no S.
I don't know. I've always,
and I have people who are coming up to me and they're like, oh, you have celiac disease. And I'm like, no. It's celiac.
Well, now I know. I didn't know.
It's just a hard C. And I don't know, because I looked it up and it's like, celiac is not a word. It's just people say it with an S.
How weird.
And so, I don't know. I have a friend who thinks she knows everything.
Oh, Lord.
And so
it's not me, is it?
No, but you are up there. No, I'm just kidding. And she had come to me and she's like, I think I have celiac disease too. And in my head, I was like, where's the S coming from? You know? And she always says it. And I brought it up one time. I was like, you know, it's not celiac, it's celiac. And she's like, no, it's not. Okay. Anyways, back to witchcraft.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that, but
you brought it up, and you said celiac, and so it just triggered a memory in my head.
I had no idea, because I haven't looked into it, because I don't know what my stomach issue is. I just know something is not right.
Yeah, and that's why you journal and keep track of it.
Yeah, but a gratitude journal would be a good thing for anybody to do, and I wish I had the time. I have actually made myself a journal that when I used it was wonderful. I need to get back to using it again. Every morning I would dream journal about the dreams I had, and I had a whole set of things I wanted to do, the gratitude, you know, what am I thankful for today, that kind of thing. And it really did make a difference. But as far as I have definitely cast spells that have come true, or whatever you want to call it, and manifested. Yeah, for sure.
Are there any specific types of magic or spell work that you find particularly fascinating or effective?
Oh, you answer first. I don't know. What do you think?
I think for you, your jar spells are particularly effective.
I am very good at those.
With those. For me, it's my manifestations. It's that type of spell work that's super effective for me.
I do. You're right. I do jar spells. Like a friend will say, "Oh, I'm having this problem." Immediately, I'm here at home making them a jar spell. So you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I had never really thought about that.
With jar spells. And I mean, me, it's manifestation. That's mostly my work, really. Like I'll cast a couple spells here or there, and sometimes I've been starting to get into sigil work since we've done the sigil episode.
Yes, I really have wanted to be working on that.
So I've been doing a little bit of that, but the most effective, if we're talking about effectiveness, is my manifestations.
I do find that what are those? We did an episode on them before. Those boards, vision boards. Mm-hmm. Vision boards are very effective for me to help manifestation. That is my way of casting manifestation, is through vision boards. I don't know, how do you manifest?
I
just through intent.
Mm-hmm. I just put it out to the universe. I don't write it down. I don't do anything. I just,
I'll do a vision board and I'll put it where I can see it. And the more I see it, the more my intent is out there. Yeah. If I make it and put it away, I don't remember. So I do like vision boards. Like with my kids, I made them all do vision boards on New Year's Eve last year. They're old enough now to understand what I'm talking about. So I got out a bunch of magazines and I'm like, hey, let's do vision boards. And my husband didn't do one. He just kind of watched us, but he supported it. He didn't stop it. And, he was like, yeah, whatever. So that's my manifestation side of things. But you're right. I think you're right. Probably jar spells for me.
Yeah. What does being a witch offer you? Oh, I already asked that one. My bad. Does being a witch have anything to do with Satan?
Not for me.
No, not for me. And I think that kind of goes with like do you worship the devil in that way? It's kind of like, no, I don't. But I know there are some that probably do. And they have like a pull or an affinity for working with him or her, whoever.
The entity, whatever he or she may be. And, there are a lot of, and there's something to be said for repeated intention, the whole tulpa thing. And Satan, the idea of Satan goes back, however many years he goes back. I don't know. So that's a lot of repeated belief in that particular entity. So I'm not here to say that there isn't a way to work with that particular entity, whatever he may be. Yeah. But not for me. It doesn't have anything to do with it.
No, not for me either. Now, I think this should probably be like a wrap up last question.
Okay.
And that is, and I think it's a pretty good one. How did you become interested in witchcraft and magic?
So for me, I've always been a witch. I just didn't know it.
Yeah, but what made you want to actually like harness, like what made you realize, oh, I'm a witch, and then you started working on that?
I don't know. There's been a lot of retrospect where I look back and I'm like, holy shit, that was an altar, or holy shit, that was a spell. But I don't remember exactly when it became a thing and I actually outright said I'm a witch. But it was a very powerful moment.
I mean, I'm right there with you. I don't have like a particular time period. I would say over COVID, I kind of got into like how every witch seems to get into witchcraft, which was through crystals. I decided I wanted to research and gather crystals. And I think that was when I was starting to develop a sense of self and a sense of style. Because I've talked about how I felt like I've never been awake, And so now I'm awake, and now I want to be my own individual person, and I want to have my own style, and I want to have all of that. Now, definitely it's very, very different than when I even started witchcraft, like I've kind of pulled a little bit away from crystals. I still have all that knowledge. I still have all my crystals, but now am I doing crystal work as much? No, I've moved into other things. And so I've always manifested, before I even knew what manifestation was, I've always manifested. But I don't have a specific time now, I would say, over COVID when I got into crystals and I was like, oh, okay, I really like this. And then crystals are more entwined with the term witch and all of that. And then that's where I kind of started going. And I'm not even really 100% comfortable with the phrase, I am a witch, like
it took me a long time to say that.
I don't have that. I am a person who has my own spirituality, like that is, I believe in what I believe in, and
that's
I don't
want to put a
label
too.
on it. Even if I have bits and pieces of being a witch, I also have bits and pieces of what I've learned throughout my past and through other things, and through what I have as my own. So I would say I've been interested in witchcraft and magic for a very long time because I grew up with Harry Potter and The Hobbit, and they have all these mystical, awesome features to it. I'd be like, oh, I wish I could do that. And finding out that in our world, there's things that hold senses of energy, and you can manipulate that energy if you harness that power enough. So it's just been like a long time coming type of thing,
I think, I do remember the first time I told my sister I was a witch, and she, bless her heart, she handled it very well. She said, okay, she was very accepting, where I was afraid. That was hard to come forward and say, I'm a witch. But I must say that since I've met you, and doing this podcast, and the reason we started this podcast was because we were meeting and talking witchcraft all the time. And then your husband was
all
like,
the time,
your husband was like, you guys need to record this. And that was when it started to become, I was a witch before I met you, but the things that I've learned since I've met you are amazing.
Oh yeah, I'm a completely different person than when we first, met and everything. And even when we started this podcast, I'm a completely different person. Like I feel like I'm, we always grow, we make mistakes, we turn them around, we learn from those mistakes, we grow and become better people, still make mistakes, and thus it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah,
but we always grow and become a better person because of those mistakes and because of what we learn and all of that.
I thought, I'm the main character in this story. That's my syndrome. I know more than she does, but you have taught me so many things and different points of views that I didn't think of. And I love it. I feel like, they say a coven can be two. We are definitely a coven. And I feel like our supporters are also our coven, because we are able to communicate with them and they talk to us. Michaela has been very responsive and talking to us lately. She's one of our newer patrons, and love her to death. And I feel like I've grown since I met you, even though I was a witch before I met you. And I had come out, so to speak, of the broom closet to my family prior to meeting you. I am much more comfortable after having met you with exploring this spirituality and growing.
Yeah,
and that kind of
you're
thing.
Not alone, and it's
I'm
nice
not
to
alone.
Not be alone.
Yeah.
But I want to say we have plenty more questions, but I think that's a good length.
I think so. I hope that this is something that you all like. We thought, you listen to us, you might be interested in our thoughts on witchy things, and so we'll probably do more of these later. Another one later.
If you guys have specific questions, you can send them to our email or anywhere on our social media, anything like that.
What I find is interesting is we were talking about it before we recorded this one. We're like, we did this a year ago. I wonder if our answers will be the same. I wonder if we've changed, if we've grown.
I'll have to go see. I'll have to go listen. And then,
very interesting.
Yeah.
But this is fun.
Yeah. And so that's all we have for today. You can find us at www.c3witchypodcast.com. There you will find links to our episodes, information about our subscriptions, our merch, our links to our social medias. That's now YouTube. Go check us out on YouTube and subscribe.
YouTube. I always forget.
It's free. Just go ahead and subscribe. It helps us out and everything. Watch a couple of our episodes that you haven't listened to on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and that helps us out too. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. What?
Yeah. Speaking of Facebook, we now have stars available. We have enough followers. Yay. Thank you guys to earn stars. So if you want to support content, you just click and you can send us stars. It does cost money. You don't have to do it. If you want to, that's fantastic. We're trying to save up money for audio equipment. Hopefully we can afford some audio equipment that will actually sound good. And so, yeah, just send us stars, please.
Yes. And anything that you do, you just review us on Apple Podcasts, review us on Spotify, review us anywhere.
Yeah, that's free.
Follow us on Facebook. Yeah. Just, let us know that you're there. It's great to know that y'all are there.
Spread the word.
Spread the word. Also on our website, you can find our newsletter where we try to put out a newsletter every month of things that might be coming up. Or I've been getting more into like astrological signs and everything. So I do a little blurb and stuff on that and about the season. And I think in this past one, if I'm not incorrect, I did something on fire magic because the month is attuned for fire.
It's summer.
And so I've been doing a lot with that. So go read our newsletter. We also have a drink of the month that's on there.
Check out my Etsy shop, y'all. I am about to dump a bunch of stuff onto the Etsy shop, probably within the week of this episode coming out. I have made a bunch of gorgeous, gorgeous jewelry, very witchy looking. I've got all kinds of things that I'm going to be putting up. So please check out Bats and Baubles. It's www.batsandbaublesinc.etsy.com. You can just search Bats and Baubles and hopefully you'll find me on Etsy. So do come check that out. And our merch is there too. If you can go straight there or you can find it through our website.
Yep. And I think that's it.
Yes.
So thank you for listening.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
And until then, stay witchy.
Ooh.